Yeah, as I mentioned, I did some research into, your background and, really fascinated as far as your origins kind of in the working world, starting with Galacticom at such an early age, at being 15 and all, and then eventually becoming the vice president of the company and then the CEO at the age of 21. I'm really kind of interested in learning what caught your interest in BBS and game development at such a young age. And, overall, how do you feel that experience at Galacticom shaped your career as an entrepreneur and a marketer?
Wow. Okay. That's going back in time. So I got into bulletin board systems as a user. This was, before the internet took off, before the web took off. There were all these dial-up services. Probably the most popular one here, everyone has heard of, was like America Online. But even before that, there were these independent dial-up BBS systems. And when I was a kid watching the movie War Games, which is kind of, the setup of, you have this modem for your computer and you can dial these other systems, and isn't that cool? And so, as a young teenager, I thought that was the coolest thing. Started using bulletin board systems, got interested in the software that ran it, started writing my own, started working on creating multiplayer games, and just sort of fell into entrepreneurial work as a software developer, really as a multiplayer game creator at the time.
Very cool. So it kind of just found a way to tie into your passion and then kind of realize hey, you can kind of make a career out of this thing just based on how the technology was evolving in the early 90s.
Yeah. And I think, there was a shift where I went from just writing the software to really getting involved in marketing it, helping to promote it and win more business. And so I eventually ended up working on the marketing side of Galacticom. And that was really fascinating to me because a lot of the early adopters of bulletin board systems in the business world were also marketing organizations that were using it to connect with clients in different industries and engage with them. And so marketing to marketers with technology in the early 90s, I thought, wow, this is cool. I had no idea it was going to be what it eventually did become.
Oh, I'm sure. I always joke because I really feel that most people when they were a kid, they didn't necessarily feel hey, one day I want to kind of help businesses sell products, right? We kind of fall into marketing as, kind of the result of doing something that we're passionate about. And it seems that might be the case with you as well. You started with the development of it, and then obviously hey, we got to take these games to market and figure out a way to kind of monetize what we're spending so much time creating. So it's really interesting, that kind of transition for you as well, where you're coming from the development side and then to the marketing side, and then eventually having a C-level position within the organization at such a young age.
Yep, that was unusual.
Yeah, that's basically, why I wanted to touch on it, because there's not many 21-year-old CEOs in the world, right? So you definitely might have been a one-on-one at that time period.
Yeah, I think that's the key. For that time period, it was certainly unique. But it's funny. It's in the past, decade or two here with the internet. Man, I feel there's been so many, breakout young CEO stories. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Poster boy of that. So it doesn't feel like it's that much of a claim to fame anymore. But back in the day, it was a little bit novel.
Oh, for sure. I can't imagine there was a whole lot in what it was 1993 when you became CEO of the company. So that must have been a unique situation at that point. Just going ahead to transition from Galacticom, once you kind of left in that company, you founded Ion Interactive with Chris Rose and Justin Anna Tellerico. One of Ion's products, if you will, Liveball was a widely used landing page tool. And I'm really interested as far as like where the inspiration that you guys had in terms of, leveraging the framework of Liveball to kind of create that landing page 2.0 or, quote unquote, interactive content that became the kind of the current form of Ion.
Yeah. And so the name of the other co-founder was Chris Robert, actually. Oh,
excuse me. So see, this is why we'll be editing it, probably because my name is Jonathan Rosenfeld, that I kind of focus too much on the Rose element of it. And I'm kind of trying to be a little Charlie Rose right here as well in the interview process. So.
Excellent. All right. It's a wonderful combination. So for the first part of Ion's life, we were essentially a boutique web development agency. So we weren't technically like a software company with a product. We were a web development shop, and we would get hired by these marketing teams of relatively large companies. Like Citrix was one of our big clients there, and we built all of their website infrastructure and experience. It was interesting. So one of the things that early on was happening there with Citrix and other clients is they had their website, but anytime a large corporation wanted to change their website, oh my goodness, it was like this, just enormous process requiring all these approvals and sign-offs and planning and budget, and for a lot of marketing, there were things they wanted to run on the internet that they couldn't wait, a month or 2 months or 3 months, to get a page. They just wanted to run something quick with like a search marketing campaign or an email campaign or something like that. And so that was where we started doing some of that work custom for Citrix. And we realized that actually there's probably a fair number of marketers that we run into that would really love to have this sort of lightweight web publishing for landing pages, and in particular, multi-step landing pages. That became the seed for the product that would eventually grow into the Ion platform. We launched that in 2007, and really shifted the company then out of being primarily a services business into primarily a software business.
Gotcha. Very cool. I really appreciate the clarity there. When I first reached out to you, I mentioned that I gift hacking marketing to new members of our team here. And, I mentioned previously that I feel it does a great job of framing what the current marketing landscape looks like. I'm interested as far as, what are some books that you recommend to new members of your team at HubSpot or working with Chief Martech or basically just people that, you're associated with that are looking to pursue marketing in this day and age?
Wow. It's interesting. Some of my favorite books aren't technically marketing books, but I think they capture the dynamics of what's happening in today's world. I think two of my favorite ones right now are there's a book called Anti-Fragility by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and it's really about change and how you can start to think about change. Creating things in a way that change doesn't harm it, change actually makes it stronger. And in today's world where, for business and technology, everything is always changing at such an incredible rate, I find that a lot of the concepts in that book to be incredibly germane to what we're all wrestling with. And then the other book I'm fascinated with these days is Platform Revolution, which was written by a group of authors, Jeffrey Parker, a fellow named Marshall, a fellow named Sangeet. And it's all about platform business. It's not just software platforms, but, market platforms like Uber and Airbnb. So many of the dynamics of platforms are now relevant to pretty much every business to a certain degree. And I find that a really fascinating study of just, what are the factors that go into these platform dynamics. So those would be my two.
Gotcha. Speaking of platforms, I took a look at your post in January about the second golden age of MarTech, and one key aspect that really stuck out to me was the concept of platform ecosystems being an integral part of this new gilded age, if you will, of MarTech. And overall, the concept reminded me a lot of what HubSpot's current positioning is as a platform as a service. In your role over at HubSpot, was this concept of platform as a service as an initiative that's something you spearheaded, or was something that you saw that, the trends are heading in that direction in MarTech, and it was something that organizationally you guys pivoted towards that direction to basically provide more value and differentiate from competitors?
Yeah, I think this was always one of the visions that the founders, Brian Halligan and Dharmesh Shah, they always envisioned HubSpot becoming more of a true platform company someday. But companies go through stages of growth and maturity. They started with one product, they then expanded to a suite. As they started to gain momentum, they became a public company. They started to have tens of thousands of customers. They started to reach a scale where becoming a true platform made sense, because they had a lot of value to offer in this ecosystem to other people who wanted to participate. So I joined them to help with that transition. And it's been an absolutely fascinating journey. I think, I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to help them with that mission.
Very cool. So it seems it's something that was always on the roadmap, and they basically found somebody who's aligned in that vision with yourself to help them implement the process then.
Yes.
Awesome. One thing that conceptually I thought kind of, would resonate with you a little bit. So I was at Merit Direct Marketing Exchange last week in Austin, and I attended a keynote from Ron Tite, and he's an author of a book called Everyone is an Artist. And I felt like this concept may resonate with you as well, as I saw that you have a bit of a musical background yourself, as you were a music major initially. Do you feel like having creative outlets such as music, for example, can make you a better marketer, can positively impact your work in a lot of different ways? Certainly. I think creativity in whatever channel you can find it, in whatever channel
inspires you. This is really the key to differentiation. Particularly in a world where, increasingly we've got more and more algorithms and machine learning and artificial intelligence. The raw analytical horsepower can all be done by machines more and more, but when it comes to that sort of creative spark, that's really something that's still, very, very uniquely human quality. And so, whether it's music or writing or art or, even programming in its own way becomes an art. So it's like whatever vehicle inspires you, I say lean into it. I definitely think that helps. Right. I've always viewed marketing kind of being a combination of art and science. You really have to tap into both the left and the right side of your brain to be, ultimately successful in this sort of role. So it seems that, you kind of have that same sort of sensibility as well. I just wanted to kind of end up here with just, one last question, just really related to MarTech West, with it starting, on April 3rd. Just kind of interested in some of the differences that are going to, take place in this year's version of the event that attendees should expect. Yeah, I am very excited for this event. Can't believe it's only a couple weeks away. So some of the things that I'm particularly excited about is we've got a couple sessions, keynotes around direct-to-consumer brands. Terrence Kawaja, the CEO of Luma Partners, the guy who actually started all these landscapes. He's been setting that space. Meher Gupta, who's one of the pioneers of marketing technology, is now the CMO of Freshly, a big D2C brand. So they're all going to be going into, how D2C brands in many ways are built on MarTech. These are native MarTech powered companies. And then let's see, some of the other folks I'm super interested in, one of the heads of MarTech from Aetna, woman running MarTech at the New York Times, the CMO of NPR talking about how they're incorporating voice assistance and voice commerce into their mission, head of analytics from Nordstrom, one of the people who runs the experimentation program at Netflix. So for being able to do various subscriber and marketing experimentations, they built a whole platform for that. So yeah, no, it's, I could go on. It's going to be a lot of really amazing people who are sharing what they're doing, not hypothetically, but in the real world, leveraging MarTech for their success.
Right. That's fantastic. And I think that's ultimately why people get such great value from attending the event. I haven't talked to somebody that left with a bad taste in their mouth from attending MarTech. You know, there's definitely, action items that you could take from it. And it seems like it really runs the gamut from B2C to B2B and all different types of applications of the technology and best practices on how to use it. So, it's great to see that it's continuing to grow. And, I just wanted to touch on that so we can include that in the piece as well. I had a good conversation about MarTech last week with Jeremy Roberts. Is he speaking this year as well?
Oh, I don't think this year, but yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to him. He's like, it was at one of these mixers. So I was definitely like 2 or 3 whiskeys in. So I don't know if he said that he talked last year or he was talking this year, but he warned me about you. He's like, hey, Scott's hilarious. You wouldn't think about it, but he's got a great sense of humor. Everybody thinks of him as a programmer, MarTech guy, but watch out. He might hit you with a joke or two. So I was like, all right, I'll be prepared.
All right. I've failed you for this afternoon, but I apologize.
And no worries. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So I just wanted to, first off, thank you for, taking the time to speak with me. And, as I mentioned, I'll have the interview transcribed and kind of clean it up a little bit. So kind of remove all my ums and ands and buts and all that sort of thing. And then obviously correct my Chris Roberts faux pas from earlier. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate it. And, certainly want to kind of figure out some ways in which we can kind of help out with MarTech as a whole from like kind of editorial standpoint and that other web property that we just launched, List.events, and, just try to be a, kind of a trusted resource in which we can drive some traffic and registrations for the event for you guys.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Well, I really appreciate it. And again, apologies for being so late getting started.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I allotted an hour of my time here. It's actually a good thing. So now I don't have to be, the irony is that all day I've been working in Ion. I'm doing a bunch of campaigns for Log Me In, the old Citrix Online. So yeah. It's funny how things kind of work full circle there. So, they're working with us on the content syndication side and, just doing a bunch of different interactive white papers with them and kind of just doing these front end assessments on it to get BANT criteria. So it's a whole thing. So it's very good to actually talk to a human being instead of just staring at the console all day. So I
know the feeling.
Yeah,
all right. Well, have a good weekend. Thank you again.